And so how do you think that for consumers, if the industry was to take the approach of paring down, what do you think that creates for consumers?
Interesting question, because one would think that larger offerings, more services, would lead to greater guest satisfaction, right? I mean, that would seem logical. The more you walk into a jewelry shop, the more there is to choose from, the happier you'll be. But in fact, we share a love of jewelry, don't we? In fact, research shows that that's not the case. That there is a point at which having too much of a choice for the customer, for the guest, makes it very difficult for the guest to choose, to actually commit to anything. So that's one thing. So it makes the selection process, the commitment process, very difficult, much more difficult, because it's too much. And the second thing is that once that guest or customer has made his choice, his or her choice, they are less likely to be satisfied, because they question whether that was the right choice. So interestingly enough, although it feels like it would have the opposite effect, it will lead and does lead to greater guest satisfaction. The exception to that would be, of course, if someone is absolutely guiding that process. When a doctor takes charge of your health, he or she need to have at their disposal a lot of tools from which to choose which course of action for each patient, right? But that is a professional making the choices. It's not the patient making those choices.
Let's talk about the word wellness. We hear it a lot these days, and it's used to sell everything from manicures and massages to herbal supplements and personal care products. What does the word mean to you?
That's a big question.
It is a big question.
I would say that for me, it's all about the intention behind the action. I think in wellness specifically, the motivation to action, to book into a wellness resort or a wellness retreat or a wellness program or a wellness treatment, generally tends to be more about being inspired to reach heightened states of well-being. So it could be heightened states of well-being on the physical level, so peak performance, train so that I can, be in shape for a marathon, or train so that I can be flexible and be able to do a particular yoga routine or whatever. It can be on an emotional level, so that my constant state is much more effervescent with joy and the lightness of being, the heart as light as a feather. Or it can be a psychological state of sort of calm and clear and tranquil, placid lake, that kind of being in the zone mentally. Or it could be some kind of spiritual state that one is aspiring to. But in wellness, I really do believe generally the motivation is towards a vision, an experience, a state, an enhanced state of well-being. And I think that motivation distinguishes it from other words that could be used.
Last Friday, Kamalaya hosted Heal a Day, I think, as part of the Samui Mala Festival. Can you tell me about that event and what the outcome was?
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was really, really wonderful. Samui Mala, I think this is the third year that it's happening, and it's this time it was hosted in a different way, where there was a day at a different venue with different themes. And for Kamalaya, it was a healing forum day, and 130 people came through, more than 130 actually, and they had a tour with Rob Powell, our architect of Kamalaya, and the whole philosophy behind the architecture, and which I won't go into right now. And it all culminated in an evening gathering at the Yantra Hall, where there was a panel of speakers, I think we were 5, short speeches on subjects we were each passionate about. The theme being healing ourselves and healing the world. the outcome was really, really positive, because at the end of the speakers presenting material they wanted to put forth, the participants then had an opportunity to also speak on whatever subject that was close to their heart, and to see what would come out of everything. And one of the outcomes was that we're going to be meeting now on a bi-monthly basis, which is excellent, and start to see what we want to be doing as a group cohesively. One of the things that came up as an emerging concern was for the healers on the island to network with each other more, to find out what the services that different healers are providing, what those are about, but also to be able to cross-refer clients for the benefit of the client, so that the client is getting the best service possible. And that's a huge step in the direction of moving away from competition.
Absolutely.
And moving towards collaboration. So there were a few other outcomes. That was one, and there were also projects that were put forth for educating at schools, so children being educated about the environment, permaculture as an ongoing project, and then really working collaboratively with the Samui government and the Samui residents to not only to educate, but to really develop projects, so on a project-by-project basis, and involving and engaging the whole community. We'll see. The meetings are starting, so it will be exciting to see how that all unfolds.
It's very positive.
Yes.
I wasn't there, but I did hear that you were one of the panel speakers,
yes,
and you made a great speech. I'd like you to tell me what that was about.
Yeah. Well, the theme was healing ourselves and healing the planet. And, you know, as a practitioner, I've been also a patient, and just as a woman, I know that the healing journey really begins with me, with oneself, with you, for you. It begins with the individual. And in traditional Chinese medicine, we are taught a particular principle that's very, very important, and it's about the microcosm and the macrocosm. That the individual is a microcosm of the larger universe, the macrocosm. On a more minute level, my ear is a microcosm of my entire body. Mm-hmm. So there are many examples of this. And so there's auricular acupuncture that's used practically, where you treat only the ear to treat the whole body, or Korean hand acupuncture, you treat only the hand to treat the entire body, or foot reflexology. So there are many examples that this is in fact true, that the entire whole is reflected in a part. So in the part, in the microcosm, you have, you know, the biological matching, you have energetic reflection of the macrocosm, you also have consciousness that's reflected. And with regard to consciousness, that is one of the key areas for me that I'm passionate about on the journey of healing of any kind. Albert Einstein is quoted as having once said that the most important question we as individuals could ask ourselves is, do I live in a hostile, dangerous, unsafe universe? Or do I live in a loving, supportive, benevolent universe? The answer to that question determines the experience of life that we each have. So, to me, that is really the key point.